name is Andrea Armeni. I am the Executive Director of Transform Finance and the convener of the Transform Finance Investor Network. If we look where we've come compared to traditional finance, it's clear that we have come a really, really long way. We've made tremendous progress. Now we can both grow impact investing as a parcel of traditional finance, and we can also go a lot deeper within the impact investing field at the same time as it expands. And this is to see really just how social can we get when we say social impact. When we wake up in 5 years, once impact investing, as many of us believe, will be a mainstay of finance, what will we really have achieved and how deep will we have gone? Most importantly, though, who will really have benefited from it? Is it going to be the investors only, or is it really going to be the people for whose benefit, ostensibly, impact investing is being used? There are two concerns there. One is the worry that has emerged that even to this day, there have been some problems attached to the field. Land grabs in the case of renewable energy, neo-colonialist attitudes towards investments in the global south. But I have one bigger worry, perhaps, and it's that we're not letting impact investing be all that it can be. And that's what I want to explore today. While the field is ambitious, can we develop an even bolder vision, perhaps, one that goes beyond just interventions on specific problems and really looks at how we can revolutionize our overall approach to the role of capital in society? And my work at Transform Finance focuses on this part. How transformative can we be? How can we push impact to be even better? This, of course, requires a bit of a change in mindset, away from the focus on investor primacy, the notion that investors are doing well while they're doing good, and are looking more holistically at the system of which we're part. So we look at this starting from three fundamental principles. First of all, the deep engagement of the affected communities, not just in the design, but also in the ownership and in the governance of the projects that affect them. Non-extractiveness, or really the attentiveness to the issue of where value is being created through impact investments and where value is being sucked out. Who is really getting rich off of this? And lastly, a redefining of the power dynamics that exist between investors and investees, right? Who bears the risk? Who gets the rewards of these investments?
What we try to really focus on in thinking about not just the what of who's being impacted, but the intertwining of social issues, that you can't solve the environment without solving it for people, that you're always going to have to look at the underlying economic systems that leads toward challenges in all these places. Because otherwise we wake up 30 years later finding we've made a bit of incremental change, but that the fundamental structure is still creating inequality, is still creating challenges for the natural world. So from that perspective, we really try to focus on the how something is being done. Is it creating gradual change, or is it creating systemic change? And that systemic change is really where we want to be, where we want to deploy scarce impact dollars in the world, increasingly less scarce, which is part of the excitement. And then the other piece, rather than coming from the ice cream shop approach of what do I care about, we try to start from what does the world need, and how do I support that? And how do I even figure out what it is that the world needs? And for us, we take a page from activists who typically will say, take your leadership from affected communities, that people know what they need the best, and how do you make sure that you're in touch? And for us, that means when we look at issues like job quality, we talk to the best fund managers and entrepreneurs, but we also called up 4 workers' rights groups to make sure that we understood what is it that they most care about and are advocating for. When we're looking at renewable energy, we want to read all the social policies and how people are engaging with local communities, but then we also go and spend time in those villages and make sure that we're hearing from people what's really happening in their lives. So that's a sort of bridge building that we see is really essential in creating that how, and also trying to focus on systemic long-term change in our work. Sure. I think fairness is a really important question for the impact investment sector to be considering now. And it's that given all hundreds of years of historic inequalities, as Ed has mentioned, it's created 2 classes of people who get to kind of decide what their option set is in life, of you can be anything you want to be, and others who are given choices between options that have been created for them. And that means that if I'm accepting a payday loan at 300% interest, an online loan at 25% looks like a great choice. Or if I'm using a kerosene lantern, which is dirty and expensive, a solar lantern at $6 a kilowatt hour is a fantastic choice, even if grid energy would be 22 cents a kilowatt hour. So the question is, I think often with social enterprise, we say it's better than charity because consumers got to vote with their feet and their dollars, right? They decided that that was a better choice, and it's the ultimate confirmation of that empowerment, except that they made a choice for something that was better. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's fair. And I think that we need to be conscious that markets are great at scaling things that are better, but that we have to be implicitly more thoughtful about how we infuse fairness into that work. And that people often say, you know, don't let the best be the enemy of the good. I worry with impact investment, we're gonna let the good be the enemy of the best, because it's very easy to scale good, and it takes a little bit more time and energy to scale best. And just to give a quick example, but one, Emily Stone, who's going to be speaking, I believe, tomorrow at 4, who started her company working with cacao farmers, not by deciding what her great idea was, but by knocking on the doors of 200 farmers and really getting to know what their needs were. And in a fair trade system where farmers were getting 2 cents more a kilo for their product, she could have said, well, if I give them 4 cents more, that's better, right? And I can stop there. But instead she said, what is it that's actually fair? I'm actually going to put a margin cap on my company to ensure that at least 51% of the value is always going down to farmers. As an investor, I love a solution that's structurally fair because I don't have to supervise it. I don't have to send 10 impact measurers into the field. I know that every transaction that's done is going to be creating more value for that community than what I took back out. And that, to me, as we scale, if we can create more value for communities than what we take out, then we're succeeding in our impact mission.
So as we're in agreement on this issue of scaling and the need for it, how can we do it while retaining the richness of what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that, as you've heard all day and we hear always, profit is essential for the field. So I want to be clear that profitability is how markets scale, right? This is an important piece. We're not saying give that up. What we're saying is be conscious about who is getting those profits. And are we altering historic inequities, or are we reinforcing them with the distribution of profits in society? So that's point number one, being really conscious about how are we adding more than we're extracting while we continue to get profitability. So to be clear, Pi Investments, we're not a foundation. We are for-profit investors. We're very, fans of profit, but we want profit for everybody. The second piece that I think we can be more conscious of as we scale is that we've been great at scaling the investment infrastructure for impact. We haven't been as great at scaling the impact infrastructure, and a lot of that is about education. So education on the way into the field and then ongoing professional education. So as a financial professional, there's a fairly typical path that requires a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, right? Take 2 years, get the MBA, take a couple years as an analyst in a financial firm. Maybe 4 years in, you can be qualified to say, I am now an investor. And if you want to make a lateral move to the social department, right, what is the commensurate education that you need? And what's the ongoing education? So when we think about, doctors that happily go off to Hawaii twice a year to get their ongoing certifications, what's the equivalent in the social sector? And how do we make sure we're building better bridges for investors to be educated about social issues? And to make sure that we're in a position to really be experts both on the social and the financial side. So I know that's a tall order, but that is our calling card if we truly want to be impact investors.